Did you know that right now, millions of people are silently walking away from the life they were promised? Why is this happening when society keeps telling them they have everything? There are no protests, no riots, just silence. You can call it a crisis, a phase, or a quiet rebellion. But something deep is happening all around us. People are disconnecting, not in anger, but with a quiet exhaustion that's changing everything. Psychology has a name for what happens when a system takes everything and gives nothing back. It's called learned helplessness, and it's spreading faster than anyone wants to admit. This is the story of what happens when the human mind finally says enough. Not with a breakdown, but with a quiet, calculated withdrawal. They were told to be strong, to provide, to achieve. But every time they hit the target, the goal moved further away. This is the story of what happens when they stop running the race, when they realize the prize they were promised was never worth the cost of their own peace. These are ghosts in the machine of modern society. Silent partners in a deal they never agreed to, but were expected to honor with their energy, their mental health, and their lives. This isn't a story you'll see on the news. It isn't loud or violent. It's a quiet resistance, happening in apartments, on walks, in the park, and in the empty chairs at gatherings. It's the story of millions who looked at the script society handed them and decided, quietly but firmly, to go off script. They're learning that the greatest act of rebellion in a world that wants to break you down is to simply find your own peace and protect it, no matter what. This is the story of their quiet rebellion. There's a game that's been played for generations. It has very specific rules handed down from the moment we're born. And you know these rules because you've lived them. Be tough, but not too tough. Be sensitive, but never weak. Be a provider, a protector, a high achiever. Climb the ladder, build success, never complain, never show weakness. For decades, this was the path. Worth was measured by output. Value reflected in paycheck, job title, ability to achieve and provide. It was simple, if brutal. Your hard work and sacrifice in exchange for respect, recognition, and status. Psychology calls this conditional worth. You're only valued when you meet expectations. From childhood, we absorb one lesson. Your value is based on performance. This isn't accidental, it's how we're trained. The message is clear. You're not inherently worthy. You must earn it. Research shows that financial stress and uncertainty are linked to serious mental health problems, including higher suicide rates. But here's what makes it worse. Today, people face what psychologists call a double bind. It's when you're given two opposite demands that make winning impossible. Be strong, but emotionally open. Be ambitious, but always present. Be successful, but don't prioritize money. Be vulnerable, but never weak. Your brain literally can't satisfy opposite demands without creating internal conflict. And the confusion is built into the system. What happens when the game changes? What happens when the rewards for playing by the rules disappear? That's the reality for millions. The stable jobs that built comfortable lives have been replaced by automation or sent away. For people without degrees, the reality is especially tough. The promise that hard work leads to a good life feels increasingly empty. But this is only part of the picture. The definition of success keeps changing. Society now demands someone who's emotionally available, an equal partner, and a great communicator. These are good changes. The problem isn't new expectations. It's that they've been added on top of old ones without removing any of the old. Pressure, so now you're expected to be strong and emotionally open. A high earner and constantly present. Ruthlessly ambitious at work but fully engaged at home. You're told to open up, but the moment that openness is seen as weakness, you risk losing respect. The message is confusing. Share your feelings, but don't make anyone uncomfortable. Be equal, but don't forget traditional expectations. This is playing out everywhere. It's a system of impossible standards, a performance that never ends. The result is what psychology calls cognitive overload. Your brain wasn't designed to constantly perform, achieve, compete, and question everything you were taught. The result: mental exhaustion, decision fatigue, and eventually shut down. This isn't laziness. It's the natural result of an unwinnable game. People are tired. Tired of the hustle, tired of performing, tired of trying to be everything to everyone, only to feel like they're never enough. The rebellion isn't people quitting jobs. It's people emotionally and mentally checking out. It's a silent protest against a system that's become one-sided. The quiet rebellion begins not with anger, but with exhaustion, and someone asking themselves a simple, powerful question: why am I even doing this? So how did we get here? How did the game become so unfair that millions are choosing to walk away? The answer is built into our society. In many ways, the system works exactly as designed, to get as much as possible from people, often until there's nothing left. Let's talk about being disposable. It's a harsh idea, but it makes sense. From a young age, we're taught to believe our value depends on what we do. You are valued if you are useful. A hero if you sacrifice. Think of every disaster movie or war story. Who's on the front lines? Who's expected to run into danger? Data shows that over 90% of workplace deaths happen to one group. This is the silent deal. Your life is currency to be spent serving others. This isn't just physical, it's financial and emotional. It's the pressure to take the hardest jobs and longest hours to provide. Even successful people often trade their health for money, and the system blames them when their body or mind breaks down. This is what psychology calls being valued only for what you do. Your life matters only in service to others. When that validation becomes impossible to get, your whole identity falls apart. This brings us to the mental cost of the game. Society created performance-based identity, a strict definition that has to be proven daily through action and hiding emotion. You're not enough just because you exist. You have to prove yourself. This performance is exhausting. It forces people into what researchers call a rigid box, where you must be tough, independent, and in control always. Showing fear or sadness breaks the rules. Every day you wake up facing an invisible test. Am I good enough today? This is what researchers call unstable identity. The idea that your worth isn't automatic. It must be constantly proven. You can't just be, you must perform, daily, publicly. And here's the trap. You're performing for people who will never be satisfied. Show emotion. Weak, don't show emotion. Cold, be ambitious. Selfish, lack ambition. Lazy. This creates what psychology calls impossible choices. Whatever you do, you're wrong. Your brain sees this as danger. Stress hormones flood your system. Over time, this doesn't just create worry, it changes your brain to always expect threats. The results are serious. People suffer from anxiety and depression at alarming rates, but it often goes unnoticed. showing up as anger, irritation, or escape behaviors. They suffer quietly, believing it's their burden alone, and the silence is deadly. Suicide rates are nearly 4 times higher for one group. It is a silent crisis, driven by isolation and inability to ask for help. When you're taught your whole life that your value is in being strong, admitting you're struggling can feel like total failure. So instead of reaching out, many choose the only way out they see. This isolation defines the modern experience for millions. Here's the painful truth. People are told to be independent, then judged for being alone. One study found that the percentage of people with no close friends increased dramatically since 1990. Think about that. A massive rise in deep social isolation. Another study found most young adults agree with the statement, "No one really knows me well." For those people, the likelihood of suicidal thoughts more than doubles. This is what psychologists call emotional numbness. The inability to identify and express feelings, not because you don't have them, but because you've been trained to hide them. The isolation isn't a mistake. It's how the system works. Social media has made this worse, turning identity into a brand, creating impossible standards that make ordinary people feel like failures before their day begins. So what do you do when the game is rigged? When the rules are designed to break you, and the cost of playing is your health, your happiness, and maybe your life? You have 2 choices. You can keep playing, running faster on a treadmill that keeps speeding up, or you can stop. You can simply, quietly, put down the game. This isn't giving up. It's deep self-protection. It's the beginning of the quiet rebellion. What we're talking about is a shared experience. That feeling of exhaustion, of playing a game you can't win. Millions are going through this, often completely alone. But you're not alone in feeling this way. If you've ever felt like you're running a race with no finish line, this community is for you. The fact you're watching this proves this is a real and growing conversation. This channel explores these ideas and finds new ways of living. A community for those looking for a different path. We're exploring what it means to define success on your own terms. So if you feel this conversation matters, I invite you to subscribe. Click that button and join people who are choosing to define success and happiness on their own terms. You don't have to walk this path alone. Now let's get back to what it actually means to opt out of the game. So how do you fight back against a system this big? For growing numbers, the answer isn't to fight at all, not in the usual way. It's not about anger or revolution. The quiet rebellion is internal. It's the conscious choice to stop playing a rigged game. It's realizing that the only way to win is not to play. When a system becomes toxic, there are 2 responses. Keep playing and break, or stop playing and heal. The quiet withdrawal isn't giving up. It's what psychologists call smart disconnection. Removing yourself from impossible situations to protect your well-being. This is mental You stop seeing withdrawal as failure and start seeing it as self-care. This isn't about blaming anyone. It's deeper, more personal freedom. It's about separating your worth from outside approval that the system uses to control you. It's taking yourself out of the game and walking away. The first step is redefining what winning means. Society says winning is about more. More money, more status, more stuff. The quiet rebel sees this as a trap designed to keep you running. The real victory isn't getting more, it's wanting less. Psychology shows that internal satisfaction creates lasting happiness. External rewards create temporary highs that crash. Society runs on external rewards. Get more, earn more, achieve more. The quiet rebel shifts to internal. What actually brings me peace? This is the idea of self-direction. You take back control. Your goals become yours, not society's. This is choosing simplicity. Not giving up things, but consciously choosing less noise for more inner peace. It's the person who turns down a stressful promotion because they value their free time more than money. It's choosing a smaller place instead of a house that controls them. It's deleting dating apps, not from defeat, but because they refuse to join a system that treats people like products. They learn that their time, energy, and mental peace are their most valuable things, and they refuse to trade them for things that don't bring real satisfaction. The second and most important part is reclaiming solitude. We're taught to fear being alone. Loneliness is seen as pathetic failure. But there's a huge difference between loneliness and solitude. Psychology separates them clearly. Loneliness is painful isolation. Solitude is peaceful aloneness. Loneliness is feeling disconnected in a crowd. Solitude is feeling complete, even when alone. The quiet rebel finds power and peace in their own company. They stop seeing an empty space as failure and start seeing it as sanctuary, a place free from judgment and performance. In solitude, they finally hear their own thoughts without outside noise. They rediscover their own interests, values, hobbies. They don't need to explain themselves to anyone. This isn't fear-driven retreat. It's strategic withdrawal. This is what psychology calls self-integration. Learning to be comfortable alone without needing outside approval to feel real. In solitude, you stop performing. Your nervous system finally relaxes. This isn't isolation, it's reclamation. This leads to the third idea, being real over performing. The game demands a mask. The tough person, the successful professional, the "I've got it all together" mask. The quiet rebellion is removing that mask. First privately, then with trusted people. Being authentic is psychological gold. Research links it to less anxiety and depression, better self-image, deeper relationships, and greater life satisfaction. But being real requires safety. And for many, emotional honesty feels unsafe. It's about emotional honesty. Understanding that strength isn't hiding emotion, but feeling it and dealing with it. This isn't performing openness for likes. It's being honest with yourself. Admitting when you're tired, struggling, not okay. This is selective vulnerability. Not performing for credit, actually processing emotions privately, then sharing with people who've earned trust. The shift is simple. You stop being who you should be. You start being who you are. And here's what happens. When you stop performing, something amazing happens. Fake people leave. Real ones stay. Your circle shrinks, but the depth grows. You attract people interested in the real you. Friendships become deeper based on shared values, not competition. The quiet rebel might have fewer friends, but they're solid gold. They'll take 2 real friends over 200 surface-level ones any day. Think about what this looks like in real life. There's the corporate worker who realized success wasn't worth the stress. They cash out, move somewhere simpler, and start something meaningful. They make less money, but for the first time in years, they feel purpose. Psychology calls this downshifting, trading status for sanity. And it works. There's the young person who sees older people drowning in debt and hating their jobs. They look at the expected path and say, "No thanks." They work a simple job that covers bills and dedicate free time to passions. By society's standards, they're behind, but they're happy. They're free. There's the parent who stops trying to win approval from people who never valued them. Instead, they focus on being present for family, building real friendships, and rediscovering hobbies abandoned long ago. They're no longer chasing an image of success. They're living a life of meaning. This is values alignment. Matching behavior with what actually matters, not what's supposed to matter. This rebellion is about choosing independence in its truest form. Quiet, self-assured independence. It's the power from knowing you don't need anything from a system designed to use you. You don't need its approval or rewards. You have your own definition of success, based on peace, freedom, and authenticity. That is the ultimate act of defiance. It's telling the system, "You have no power over me, because I no longer want what you're selling." So what does life look like on the other side? What is the new reality for someone who has stopped playing? It's quiet. It's a quiet that's often mistaken for emptiness by those still caught in the noise. But for the person living it, it's the sound of peace. This is psychological freedom. It's freedom from constant performance anxiety. It's the relief of no longer having to prove your worth to anyone. This new reality is discovered freedom. It's waking up feeling calm instead of dread. It's finding joy in simple things. A good cup of coffee, a walk outside, a real conversation with a true friend. It's satisfaction from work done for its own sake, not for praise. It's comfort in solitude without pain of loneliness. The person who has walked away is not a failure. They are a pioneer. They're creating a new path to a different kind of life. One defined not by power or wealth, but by integrity, self-possession, and peace. They have traded the promise of everything for the reality of their own soul. They understand this withdrawal isn't giving up on life. It's taking life back. It's refusing to sacrifice their one precious existence for society's expectations. They aren't antisocial, they're selectively social. They aren't unambitious. Their ambition is for a life of meaning, not a life of metrics. This quiet rebellion is one of the most significant social shifts of our time, happening just under the surface. It's a silent declaration that your life is your own, and your peace is not for sale. For everyone out there feeling lost, exhausted, and invisible, know this: you are not alone. There are millions just like you making the same choice, walking the same path. And the choice to walk away, to stop playing, to seek your own path, that isn't weakness. It is the ultimate act of strength. Your exhaustion isn't weakness, it's information. Your mind is sending you a message. This isn't sustainable. Listening to that message isn't quitting, it's intelligence. It is discovering that your own peace feels better than status or victory ever could. It's realizing that the only game worth winning is the one you play by your own rules. The quiet rebellion isn't about dropping out of life. It's about opting into a life that's actually yours. If this story resonates with you, you're not alone. This is a conversation that needs to happen openly. Subscribe to this channel, where we question the script society hands us and write our own. This is a community for people who are redefining what success, strength, and happiness actually mean. You're not alone in this. Click that subscribe button. Join the conversation. Let's explore these ideas together. Thanks for watching. And remember, your peace is not negotiable.